I got a call that night, not a normal one. Just static at first, and then a whisper I couldn't place. It wasn't saying anything I recognized. My stomach knotted before I even picked it up. The vent in the corner rattled. Not from the AC. Something moved in there. Something heavy, slow. I froze, listening. Then a scraping metal against skin? I don't know. My throat went dry. I tried to tell myself it was a raccoon or the wind or something mundane. But the shadows in the hallway stretched wrong, flickering along the walls like they didn't belong to anything real. I felt them watching me, even when I stopped moving. The next morning they found him, Jason Thompson, in the vent, twisted in ways that shouldn't be possible. Limbs bent at angles that made your brain hurt to look at. And the strangest part, the shadows in the photos seemed to crawl along with him. I went back to the building. The hall smelled stale, metal, and something else I can't name. Each step echoed, but not evenly. Sometimes I thought someone was behind me, matching my pace. I kept turning, expecting a person, but there was nothing. The door in the back of the hallway moved on its own. Just a little, enough to make my skin crawl. I whispered, "Hello?" But my voice sounded wrong, like it belonged to someone else. Then the vent above me hissed, a scraping noise again. Short, quick, like nails against metal. I felt it pause, and then continue, following me down the hall. My hand pressed to the wall. My fingers traced the paint, flaking, peeling. Nothing moved except that vent, that sound following. I found his jacket, crumpled in a corner, zipped halfway, wet with something I didn't want to look at. I touched it, thinking maybe it would anchor me to reality. The second I lifted it, the lights flickered. Shadows stretched and folded in ways that made me blink. I don't know why I went upstairs. The stairwell was narrow, dark, smelling like mildew. Each step creaked like it knew I was coming. And then there it was. A shape behind the railing. Long, thin, moving too fast to be human. I spun. Nothing. Just the stairwell empty. A whisper again. Jason? Or someone else? My pulse thudded. I thought I saw his eyes in the vent above, glowing faintly, watching. I forced myself forward. The building was empty. I kept telling myself that. On the second floor, a window reflected something wrong. My reflection moved before I did. My head turned before my body. I staggered back. The reflection froze. Then the figure stepped closer, but it wasn't me. Not really. I tried the exit. Locked. Not unusual, but the clicking of the lock behind me didn't sound like it belonged to any human hand. I could feel it. A pressure in the hallway, sliding along the walls, invisible until it wasn't. I heard him again. Jason? I don't know. A breath, low and wet, echoing somewhere above the vents. I tried calling security. The phone died in my hand. Dead. And then, silence. Too long. Something moved past the doorway at the end of the hall. Quick, silent, but it left the air cold, almost thick, making my chest tight. I pressed against the wall. My fingers scraped paint. My nails dug in, but I couldn't move, couldn't look away. I found his file. On the floor, the photos inside were wrong. Shadows stretched into corridors that didn't exist. Limbs bent, faces blurred, angles that made no sense. I turned the pages slowly, hoping for logic. There wasn't any. And then the footsteps. Behind me. Slow, deliberate, matching mine exactly. I didn't move. Tried to make myself small. They stopped. Just like that. But the vent above hissed again, and I could feel eyes, watching, waiting. A faint sound came from the elevator shaft. Something sliding down. Not metal on metal. Not anything mechanical. Soft, wet, like it was coming for me. I leaned closer stupidly. The shadow moved across the opposite wall, but it didn't belong to anything. I think I called his name. out loud. "Jason?" The sound bounced back wrong, like the walls swallowed it and spat it out slower. My heart beat too fast. My hands were shaking. Something moved in the corner of my eye. Gone when I looked directly. I tried the stairwell again. The banister felt wrong. Too cold, too slick. Shadows pooled at the bottom. I hesitated. Then a scraping sound came from the vent just above me, and I knew it was following, keeping pace. I don't remember how I got to the roof. It was foggy. Lights from the street barely visible. I thought maybe the open air would save me. But shadows curled along the edges of the roof, waiting. The wind carried a whisper, my name, and then a laugh. Not human. I froze. Felt my stomach twist. The vents from below rattled violently. Something dropped from them. Something I didn't see clearly. Something that fit the shape of Jason, but wrong. Limbs contorting. Head tilted. Watching me. And then I ran. Blind through fog and darkness. Doors I thought led to stairs opened into hallways I didn't recognize. And every step I took, the vent above me thrashed. Something moving in there, faster now, aligning itself with me. When I finally collapsed outside, my chest heaving, the building looked normal. Windows dark, doors closed. But I could feel it inside, watching, waiting. I kept thinking I'd finally left. Then, last week, I saw something in my reflection. My own apartment. But the shadow behind me, too long, too wrong. And in the corner, I could just make out a metal grate. A vent. Jason Thompson. Twisted. Watching. Always. And when I looked again, it wasn't in the vent. It was standing right behind me.